The morning sun of Kepler 442b rose slowly over the green fields of New Jeju Colony. Kim Tae-ho stood on the observation deck of the main administration building, watching farmers walk to their fields. The sight always made him smile. 50,000 people had made this planet their home, and they were happy here. Tae-ho had been the colony administrator for 8 years. He was a quiet man who preferred listening to talking. The colonists trusted him because he always kept his promises. When they needed new farming equipment, he found a way to get it. When the water pumps broke last winter, he worked beside the repair crews until they were fixed. "Beautiful day," said Park Min-ho as he joined Tae-ho on the deck. Park was the chief security officer, but there was little crime on New Jeju. Most of his time was spent helping lost children find their parents or settling small disputes between neighbors. "Every day is beautiful here," Tae-ho replied. He meant it. New Jeju had perfect weather, rich soil, and clean air. The colonists grew food that fed 3 other human settlements in nearby star systems. They lived simple lives without the stress and noise of Earth's big cities. Lee Suman's voice came through the communication system. She worked in the colony's main communication center, keeping contact with other human worlds and Earth itself. Administrator Kim were getting some strange readings on the long-range sensors. Tae-ho and Park looked at each other. Strange readings usually meant space debris or solar flares. Nothing dangerous. They walked to the communication center where Suman was staring at her screens with a worried expression. "What kind of readings?" Tae-ho asked. "Multiple ships coming out of faster-than-light travel," Suman said. "Big ones. At least 20 vessels, maybe more. They're not broadcasting any identification signals." Park moved to another screen. "Could be traders from the Centauri colonies. They sometimes travel in large groups for protection." But Suman shook her head. "These ships are massive. Much bigger than any trader vessels, and they're moving in military formation." Tae-ho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. New Jeju had only basic defenses. A few orbital satellites with small weapons and a ground-based security force of 200 people. They were prepared to handle pirates or small raiders, not a military fleet. "Send a message to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them about the unknown ships. Ask for instructions." Suman's fingers moved quickly over her controls. But before she could send the message, her screens went blank. Then they flickered back to life, showing a face that was definitely not human. The alien had gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its mouth was filled with sharp teeth, and it wore what looked like military armor. When it spoke, its voice was deep and harsh. "Humans of this world," the alien said. "I am War Commander Vextar of the Vorthon Empire. Your planet is now under our control. You will surrender immediately and prepare for relocation to work camps. Any resistance will result in death." Tae-ho stared at the screen. The alien's 4 eyes seemed to look directly at him. He had never heard of the Vorthon Empire, but the threat was clear. This was not a request. It was a demand. "We are a peaceful colony," Tae-ho said to the screen. "We have no military forces. We grow food and live quiet lives. We don't want any trouble." War Commander Vextar showed its teeth in what might have been a smile. "All human worlds will serve the Empire. Your species is new to space travel. You do not understand how the galaxy works. The strong rule the weak. We are strong. You are weak. Therefore you will serve." Park stepped forward. "What do you want from us?" "Your world will become a food production center for our military forces. Your people will work as slaves until they die. Your children will be raised as workers for the Empire. This is the way of things." Tae-ho felt anger rising in his chest. These aliens spoke of enslaving his people, of taking their children as if it was normal, as if human lives meant nothing. "No," he said quietly. The alien's 4 eyes focused on him. "What did you say?" "I said no. We will not surrender. We will not become slaves. And you will not take our children." War Commander Vextar's expression changed. The alien looked surprised, then angry. "You dare refuse the Empire? Your tiny colony cannot stand against our fleet. We have destroyed dozens of worlds. Your defenses are nothing to us." "Maybe," Tae-ho said. "But we will still fight." The screen went black. Alarms began sounding throughout the colony. Suman quickly tried to send a message to Earth, but the aliens were jamming all communication signals. Only the colony's internal system still worked. Captain Choi Ji-won ran into the communication center. She commanded the colony's small defense force. "Sir, we're detecting 23 alien ships entering orbit. They're targeting our satellites." Through the windows, they could see bright flashes in the sky as the orbital satellites exploded. New Jeju's tiny space-based defenses were gone in minutes. Get everyone to the emergency bunkers, Tejo ordered. Civilian areas first. Children and elderly people have priority. Choi nodded and spoke into her radio. Throughout the colony, sirens warned people to seek shelter. Parents grabbed their children and ran toward the underground bunkers that had been built to protect against natural disasters. No one had expected to use them for war. The first alien missiles struck the outer settlements. Tejo watched from the administration building as farms and homes exploded in balls of fire. The aliens were not trying to capture the colony intact. They were destroying everything. Why are they killing everyone? Park asked. They said they wanted workers. Suman looked up from her controls. She was still trying to break through the communication jamming. I think they changed their minds. Administrator Kim refusing them made them angry. Now they want to make an example of us. More missiles fell. The spaceport exploded, sending pieces of metal flying through the air. The main power plant was hit next, and half the colony went dark. The aliens were systematically destroying everything that kept the colony running. Captain Choi's voice came through the radio. Sir, we're engaging alien ground forces near the southern bunker complex. They're not trying to capture prisoners. They're killing everyone they find. Tejo closed his eyes. He had made the choice to resist, and now his people were dying because of it. But what choice did he really have? The aliens had promised slavery and death anyway. At least this way they died as free people. Keep fighting, he told Choi. Protect the bunkers as long as you can. The battle for New Jeju lasted 6 hours. The colony's security forces fought bravely, but they had light weapons against alien soldiers in powered armor. One by one, the defensive positions fell silent. The bunkers were found and destroyed. The aliens showed no mercy to anyone they captured. As alien soldiers surrounded the administration building, Tejo made one last attempt to contact Earth. Hidden in his office was an emergency quantum beacon, designed to punch through any jamming. He recorded a message telling Earth what had happened to New Jeju. He described the unprovoked attack, the murder of civilians, and the aliens who called themselves the Vorthan Empire. They came without warning, he said to the recorder. They demanded our surrender and enslavement. When we refused, they killed everyone, 50,000 people. Men, women, children, all dead because we would not become slaves. Remember us. Remember what they did here. The building shook as alien weapons tore through the walls. Tejo activated the quantum beacon and watched it disappear into faster-than-light travel, carrying his message toward Earth. Then he picked up Park's security weapon and walked toward the door. Outside, War Commander Vextar waited with a squad of soldiers. The alien looked at the burning colony around them with satisfaction. You should have surrendered, Vextar said. Your people died for nothing. No, Tejo replied, raising his weapon. They died free. The alien soldiers fired. Kim Tejo fell beside the building he had worked in for 8 years. Around him, New Jeju burned. 50,000 human lives ended in fire and blood. And the Vorthan Empire moved on to their next target, confident that humanity was too weak and too distant to do anything about it. They were wrong. 6 months after New Jeju died, the quantum beacon finally reached Earth. It appeared in the Sol system like a ghost from the void, carrying the last words of Kim Tejo and the death screams of 50,000 people. Admiral Yoon Ji-hai was eating breakfast in her office at Seoul Defense Command when the alert came through. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes who had spent 30 years keeping Earth's space lanes safe from pirates and smugglers. Nothing in her long career had prepared her for what she was about to see. Admiral, we have an emergency transmission from the outer colonies, said Lieutenant Park, her communications officer. It's marked with the highest priority codes. Put it on the main screen, Yoon said, setting down her coffee. The recording began with Kim Tejo's face, tired and sad but determined. Behind him, explosions lit up the windows of his office. His voice was calm as he spoke about aliens called the Vorthan Empire, about demands for slavery, about the choice between freedom and death. Yoon watched in growing horror as the recording showed alien ships destroying farms and homes. She saw human families running for shelter that would never come. She heard the voices of children crying for their parents in the moments before the aliens found them. They came without warning, Tejo said in the recording. They demanded our surrender and enslavement. When we refused, they killed everyone. 50,000 people, men, women, children, all dead because we would not become slaves. Remember us. Remember what they did here. The recording ended with the sound of weapons fire and then silence. For a long moment, Admiral Yoon stared at the blank screen. Her hands were shaking. "Get me President Kang," she said quietly. "Emergency channel. Right now." President Kang Seonho was in a meeting about trade agreements when the call came through. He was a patient man who believed in peaceful solutions to problems. The Terran Federation had not fought a real war in over 40 years. Most people thought those days were behind them. 15 minutes later, Kang sat in the emergency command center beneath the Capitol building. Around the table were the most important people in the Federation government. Admiral Yoon played the recording from New Jeju 3 times before anyone spoke. 50,000 people, said Defense Minister Han Dong-woo, his voice barely a whisper. They killed 50,000 people and called it Tuesday. Dr. Nam Hyeri, the Federation's chief scientist for alien studies, was studying data on her tablet. She was young for such an important position, but her brain was sharp as a knife. "I've been researching these Vorthons in our databases. We have very little information, but what we do have is not good." "Tell us," President Kang said. "They appear to be an empire built entirely on conquest. Every species they encounter has 2 choices: surrender and become slaves or fight and die. According to our deep space probes, they control at least 17 star systems. They've been expanding for over 200 years. Colonel Han Dong-woo, the defense minister's younger brother, leaned forward. He was a career military officer who understood war in ways the politicians did not. "What are their capabilities?" "Unknown but significant. Our probes detected large fleets and heavily fortified worlds. They're not a small raiding group. This is a major galactic power with serious military strength." President Kang was quiet for several minutes, thinking. Everyone in the room knew him as a man of peace. He had spent his career building bridges between different human colonies and avoiding conflicts. But as he watched the recording of New Jeju's destruction again, something hard entered his eyes. "They made a mistake," he said finally. "They think we're weak because we prefer peace. They think we won't respond because New Jeju is far away. They're wrong on both counts." "What are you saying, sir?" asked Admiral Yoon. "I'm saying we're going to war. Not the kind of limited conflict we've had with pirates. Real war, total war, the kind of war that ends with one side completely destroyed." Dr. Nam looked uncomfortable. "Sir, we don't know how strong they are. Starting a war with an unknown enemy could be very dangerous." "They already started the war," President Kang replied. "They started it when they murdered 50,000 of our people. Now we're going to finish it." The president stood and walked to the large screen showing a map of human space. New Jeju's location was marked with a red symbol indicating total loss. "Admiral Yoon, you have unlimited resources. I want every ship, every weapon, every soldier we can put into space. I want our best scientists working on new ways to kill these aliens. I want our intelligence services finding out everything they can about Vorthon military capabilities." "Sir, the other colonies will ask questions," said the defense minister. "Some of them might not support a major war. Then we don't ask for their permission. This is not a debate. This is not a vote. 50,000 human beings were murdered in cold blood. We will have justice for them, or we will die trying." Over the next weeks, Earth transformed itself. Factories that had been making civilian goods switched to producing weapons and military equipment. Shipyards that built cargo vessels started building warships instead. Young people lined up at recruitment centers to join the military. Captain Lim Jae-hyuk was pulled out of retirement to command one of the new Dreadnought-class battleships. He was old but experienced, and he understood how to fight in space better than almost anyone alive. "It's been 20 years since I commanded a warship," he told Admiral Yoon during his briefing. "Are you sure I'm the right choice? You fought in the Titan Rebellion. You know how to win against impossible odds. That's exactly what we need now." Dr. Shin Minji was assigned to lead the Advanced Weapons Development Program. She was brilliant, but had never worked on military projects before. Her specialty was energy systems for space stations and mining equipment. "I don't know anything about weapons," she protested when given her new assignment. "You know how to make things explode," Colonel Han told her. "That's all we need. Make bigger explosions." The military awakening of Earth was unlike anything in human history. Every colony, every space station, every mining operation was asked to contribute. Some sent ships and soldiers. Others sent raw materials and food. A few sent their best scientists and engineers. But it was not just the government and military that changed. Regular people changed too. Families who had never owned weapons bought them. Children played war games instead of peaceful sports. The entire culture of humanity shifted from peace to preparation for war. Lieutenant Commander Bae Kyung-soo was training special assault troops for ship-to-ship combat. His soldiers were learning how to fight in zero gravity, how to cut through alien armor, how to show no mercy to an enemy that had shown none to human children. "Remember," he told his troops during training, "these aliens think we're weak. They think we're soft. They think we'll give up when things get hard. We're going to show them how wrong they are." Major Song Yeji was preparing ground forces for planetary assault. Her soldiers trained in deserts and frozen wastelands, learning how to fight on alien worlds with hostile environments. "The aliens made one mistake," she told her troops. "They let one of us live long enough to send a message home. They should have killed everyone before anyone could call for help. Now Earth knows what they did. Now Earth is coming." 3 months after the new Jeju recording arrived, Admiral Yoon stood on the bridge of the flagship Retribution, looking out at the largest human fleet ever assembled. Hundreds of warships filled space around Earth, their weapons powered and ready. "All ships report ready for departure," reported her communications officer. Yoon thought about Kim Tae-ho and his quiet dignity in the face of death. She thought about the children of New Jeju who had died asking for their parents. She thought about 50,000 people who had wanted nothing more than to grow food and live in peace. "Set course for Vorthon space," she ordered. "It's time to teach the galaxy what happens when you murder human beings." The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, carrying humanity's rage toward an enemy that had no idea what was coming for them. Behind them, Earth continued to build more ships and train more soldiers. The peaceful Terran Federation was gone. In its place was something harder, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. The Vorthons had awakened something they did not understand. They had turned humanity's greatest strength, their capacity for peace, into their greatest weakness. But they had also turned humanity's capacity for love and protection into an unstoppable force of vengeance. Soon, the galaxy would learn why it was a very bad idea to make humans angry. Agent Oh Sunwoo had been tracking alien communications for 2 months when he finally found what Earth needed. Hidden in a small intelligence station on the edge of human space, he worked 18-hour days listening to radio signals from across the galaxy. Most of it was useless noise, but sometimes he caught something important. "Admiral, I have it," he said through the encrypted communication link to the flagship Retribution. "The Vorthon Empire structure. 17 star systems, all connected by regular supply routes and military patrols." Admiral Yoon Ji-hai studied the data on her command screen. The Vorthon Empire was spread across a large area of space, with their military bases protecting trade routes and conquered worlds. It was a typical Empire setup, designed to control and exploit rather than defend. "They're confident," she said to her staff officers. "Look at these patrol patterns. They have small groups of ships spread thin across all 17 systems. They don't expect anyone to attack them." Captain Lim Jae-hyuk, commanding the dreadnought Vengeance, reviewed the tactical information. "They've never fought someone who could hit back hard. Every species they conquered was weaker than them. They don't know how to defend against a real military force." "Good," Admiral Yoon said. "We'll teach them." The human fleet had grown during its journey to Vorthon space. More ships arrived every week from Earth and the outer colonies. The fleet now had over 400 warships, including 30 of the new Dreadnought-class battleships that Dr. Shin Minji had equipped with devastating weapons. Dr. Shin had worked miracles in the weapons development program. Her new plasma cannons could cut through alien armor like it was paper. Her improved missile systems could track targets across entire star systems. Most impressive were her kinetic bombardment weapons, which could drop tungsten rods from orbit with the force of nuclear explosions. "The aliens use energy shields on their ships," she explained to the fleet commanders during a briefing. "Our new weapons are designed specifically to overload those shields. Once the shields fail, their armor won't protect them." Lieutenant Commander Bae Kyung-soo had trained his boarding teams for months. They were ready for close combat against alien soldiers. Each human fighter wore powered armor and carried weapons designed to kill Vorthons quickly and efficiently. "We've studied the recordings from New Jeju," he told his teams. "We know what Vorthon soldiers look like, how they move, where their weak spots are. When we board their ships, we don't take prisoners. We don't ask questions. We kill every alien we find." Major Song Yeji's ground forces were equally prepared. Her soldiers had trained on dozens of different world types. learning how to fight in any environment the Vorthons might use for their bases. "Remember the children of New Jeju," she told her troops before their first mission. "Remember what these aliens did to innocent people. Show them the same mercy they showed our families." The first attack came without warning. A Vorthon patrol fleet of 8 ships was checking a supply route when human forces dropped out of faster-than-light travel around them. The aliens had no time to send distress signals before the human weapons tore their ships apart. War Commander Theknos watched his fleet die in less than 10 minutes. His ship's shields failed under the assault of human plasma cannons. His crew screamed as kinetic weapons punched holes through the hull. In his final moments, he realized that these humans fought with a cold precision that made Vorthon warriors look like children. "All alien vessels destroyed," reported Captain Lim to Admiral Yoon. "No survivors. No distress signals sent. The Empire doesn't know we're here yet." The human fleet moved to the next target. A Vorthon supply base orbiting a gas giant had 300 alien personnel and significant military equipment. The humans arrived like ghosts in the night, their ships dark and silent until they opened fire. Major Song's soldiers landed on the base while the orbital battle raged above. They moved through the alien facility with methodical efficiency, their weapons cutting down Vorthon defenders who had never faced such skilled opponents. "Base secured," Song reported to Admiral Yoon. "All alien personnel eliminated. We've captured their computer systems and supply records." The intelligence from the captured base was invaluable. Agent O analyzed the alien data and discovered patrol schedules, supply routes, and military strength assessments for the entire Vorthon Empire. "They're overextended," he reported to Admiral Yoon. 17 systems are too many for their military to properly defend. They rely on fear and reputation to keep conquered species under control. They don't have enough ships to fight a real war." Admiral Yoon smiled coldly. "Then we'll give them a real war." Over the next month, the human fleet struck 12 Vorthon systems. Each attack was precisely planned and brutally executed. Military bases were destroyed. Supply convoys were ambushed. Patrol fleets disappeared without trace. The humans fought differently than any enemy the Vorthons had ever faced. Previous species had been driven by emotion, making mistakes in their anger or fear. The humans were cold and calculating. They studied their targets, planned their attacks perfectly, and showed no mercy once the fighting began. Captain Park Hyunwoo led a squadron of fast attack ships that specialized in hunting Vorthon supply vessels. His crews became experts at finding alien ships in the vast emptiness of space and destroying them before they could escape. "The aliens are starting to change their behavior," he reported after his latest mission. "They're traveling in larger groups now, staying closer to their military bases. They're afraid." Lieutenant Commander Shin Jae-woo commanded a stealth reconnaissance ship that gathered intelligence deep in Vorthon space. His reports painted a picture of an empire beginning to panic. "Their communications are full of requests for reinforcements," he said during a briefing with Admiral Yoon. "Local commanders are asking for more ships, more soldiers, more weapons, but their central command doesn't have reserves to send. They never expected to fight a defensive war." Dr. Nam Hyeri, who had joined the fleet to study captured Vorthon technology, made an interesting discovery while examining alien computer systems. "The Vorthons have a rigid social structure," she explained to the command staff. "They believe absolutely in the superiority of their species and the weakness of all others. The idea that humans could be stronger than them is literally impossible for them to accept." "What does that mean for us?" asked Admiral Yoon. "It means they won't adapt quickly to our tactics. They'll keep trying to fight us the same way they fought everyone else, expecting us to break and run like previous enemies did. They can't understand that we're different." The psychological impact on the Vorthon Empire was becoming clear. Species that had been conquered and enslaved for generations began to whisper about the mysterious humans who were destroying their masters' fleets. Some worlds started having small rebellions, thinking the Empire was weakening. War Prime Kethvar, the supreme military commander of the Vorthon Empire, called an emergency meeting of his senior officers. He was an old alien who had conquered 6 species personally and had never known defeat. "These humans are causing problems," he admitted to his commanders. "But they are still just one species with limited forces. We will concentrate our fleets and destroy them in a single battle." But that was exactly what Admiral Yoon was hoping for. Each Vorthon response was predictable. following standard military doctrine that the humans had already studied and planned to counter. They're gathering their forces at the Kethmore system, Agent O reported. Intelligence suggests they're planning a major offensive to drive us out of their space. Admiral Yoon looked at the tactical display showing Vorthan fleet movements. The aliens were doing exactly what she expected. They were thinking like an empire that had always been stronger than its enemies, not like a military force fighting for survival. Let them come, she said. We'll be ready. Commander An Suyong, the fleet's communications officer, intercepted a message from the Vorthan High Command to all their military units. The message was simple and arrogant. The humans would be crushed like all previous enemies of the Empire. They still don't understand, she said to Admiral Yoon. They think this is just another conquest campaign. They don't realize this is an extermination war. Captain Hong Jinwoo was preparing his assault carriers for the next phase of operations. His ships carried thousands of human soldiers ready to fight on alien worlds. Unlike the Vorthans, who relied on fear and overwhelming numbers, the humans had trained every soldier to be a perfect killer. The aliens made one mistake, he told his troops. They let us know they exist. Now we know where they are, how they think, and how they fight. They're not mysterious or terrifying anymore. They're just targets. As the human fleet prepared for the final phase of their campaign, news arrived from Earth that made everyone smile. More fleets were being built. More soldiers were being trained. More weapons were being developed. If the Vorthan Empire somehow survived the current campaign, Earth was preparing to send 10 times as many ships for the next one. Admiral Yoon stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking at the tactical display that showed the positions of both human and Vorthan forces. Soon, the aliens would learn what happened when a peaceful species to War Prime Kethavar stared at the tactical display in his command bunker on the Vorthan homeworld. Red markers showed where human forces had struck. 12 star systems had gone completely silent. Supply routes that had operated for 200 years were now death traps. His mighty empire was bleeding to death, and he still didn't understand how it had happened. Report, he ordered his intelligence chief, a younger Vorthan named Vexkol. The humans have destroyed 60% of our outer system defenses, Vexkol said, his voice shaking. They move faster than our scouts can track them. They hit our bases and disappear before reinforcements arrive. Our patrol fleets are afraid to leave port. Kethavar's 4 eyes burned with rage. The Vorthan Empire had conquered dozens of species. They had never faced an enemy that could fight back effectively. Every other species had either surrendered quickly or been crushed by overwhelming Vorthan military strength. How many ships do these humans have? He demanded. Unknown, War Prime. Our surviving scouts report seeing different human vessels in multiple systems simultaneously. They could have hundreds of ships, or they could be using some kind of advanced technology we don't understand. What Kethvar didn't know was that the humans had something the Vorthans had never encountered before, a military doctrine based on efficiency rather than intimidation. Every human attack was planned to achieve maximum damage with minimum risk. Every human ship was used where it would be most effective. General Ryu Sang-hoon was leading the siege of the Kethmore system, the Vorthan Empire's second most important military base. His forces had surrounded the system and were systematically destroying every alien ship that tried to enter or leave. Enemy reinforcement fleet detected, reported his tactical officer. 26 Vorthan vessels approaching from the Veltar system. Intercept and destroy, Ryu ordered calmly. Standard formation, no survivors. The human ambush was perfect. The Vorthan reinforcements flew directly into a trap that had been planned weeks in advance. Human ships appeared from multiple directions, their weapons already locked onto targets. The alien fleet was destroyed in 18 minutes. Dr. Kim Nari was working in her laboratory aboard the research vessel Discovery, putting the final touches on humanity's most terrifying creation. The stellar collapse device was designed to destabilize a star's nuclear fusion process, causing it to expand rapidly and then explode as a supernova. The weapon is ready, she reported to Admiral Yoon during their daily briefing. We can target any star and cause it to go nova within 6 hours. The explosion will sterilize everything in the target system. Admiral Yoon looked at the technical specifications for the device. It was the ultimate weapon, capable of destroying not just fleets or planets, but entire star systems. The scientists of Earth had created a way to kill suns themselves. "Are you certain it will work?" she asked. "We've tested it on uninhabited systems," Kim replied. "It works perfectly. One device can destroy a star and everything orbiting it. Nothing can survive a supernova explosion." Meanwhile, Agent Oh Sun-woo was intercepting increasingly desperate communications from Vorthon command centers. The aliens were finally beginning to understand that they were not fighting a normal war. "They're trying to negotiate," he reported to Admiral Yoon. "Intercepted messages show they're discussing surrender terms and reparations. They want to offer us territory and resources in exchange for peace." Admiral Yoon's expression didn't change. "What do our intelligence reports say about their civilian population?" "The Kethmore system alone has over 3 billion Vorthon civilians," Oh replied. "Their homeworld has 12 billion. Most of them are not soldiers." This was the moment Admiral Yoon had been dreading. The Vorthon military was nearly defeated, but completing the mission would mean killing billions of alien civilians who had never personally harmed humans. It was a choice between mercy and total victory. "Get me a secure communication channel to Earth," she ordered. "I need to speak with President Kang." The conversation between Admiral Yoon and President Kang took place over a quantum-encrypted channel that couldn't be intercepted by alien forces. Both leaders understood the weight of the decision they were about to make. "The Vorthon Empire is offering to surrender," Yoon reported. "They're promising to pay reparations for New Jeju and to never enter human space again. They want to negotiate." President Kang was quiet for a long moment. Behind him, the emergency command center on Earth was filled with advisors and military leaders, all waiting for his decision. "What's your assessment, Admiral? Do you believe they would keep their promises?" "No, sir. Their entire culture is based on conquest and domination. If we let them survive, they'll rebuild their military and attack us again when they think they're strong enough. Maybe not this generation, but eventually. And if we continue the attack, we can end the Vorthon Empire forever. But it will mean using the stellar collapse device on their homeworld system. Billions of civilian deaths." Dr. Nam Hyeri, who was present in the command center, spoke up. "Sir, we've studied their culture extensively. The Vorthons believe that mercy is weakness. If we show them mercy now, they'll interpret it as fear. They'll spend the next century planning revenge." Defense Minister Han Dongwoo agreed. "They made their choice when they murdered 50,000 people on New Jeju. They could have negotiated then. They could have tried diplomacy. Instead, they chose genocide." President Kang walked to the large screen showing the tactical situation. Human forces were positioned around the Vorthon homeworld, ready to deploy the ultimate weapon. One decision would determine whether the Vorthon species survived or joined the dinosaurs in extinction. "Admiral Yoon," he said finally, "do you remember what Kim Tae-ho said in his final message?" "Yes, sir. He said to remember New Jeju. Remember what they did there. The Vorthons had a choice. They could have left our colony alone. They could have demanded tribute instead of slavery. They could have negotiated instead of murdering children. They made their choice. Now we make ours." The president's voice was steady and cold. "Deploy the stellar collapse device. End the Vorthon Empire." Back in Vorthon space, War Prime Kethvar was receiving reports that made no sense. Human ships were withdrawing from their attack positions around military bases. Long-range sensors showed the mysterious human fleet gathering at the edge of the Kethmore system. "What are they doing?" he asked his tactical advisors. "Are they retreating?" Commander Vex Tane, his most experienced military officer, studied the sensor readings. "Unknown, War Prime. They've stopped attacking our installations, but they're not leaving our space either. They're just waiting." What the Vorthons didn't know was that the human fleet was positioning itself at a safe distance from the Kethmore star. Dr. Kim's team was making final preparations to deploy the stellar collapse device. Commander Park Hyun-woo was coordinating the evacuation of human forces from the danger zone. Every ship needed to be at least 2 light-years away when the star exploded, or they would be caught in the expanding shockwave. "All vessels report ready for final withdrawal," he told Admiral Yoon. "We can deploy the device on your order." Admiral Yoon looked at the tactical display one last time. The Vorthon homeworld was a blue marble orbiting a yellow star very similar to Earth's sun. 12 billion aliens lived there, going about their daily lives unaware that their star was about to die. "Dr. Kim, deploy the device," she ordered. The stellar collapse device was a small probe, no bigger than a refrigerator. It flew toward the Kethmore star at nearly the speed of light, invisible to Vorthon sensors. When it reached the star's outer atmosphere, it began its work. Deep inside the star's core, nuclear fusion reactions that had burned steadily for billions of years began to change. The careful balance between gravity and nuclear pressure shifted. The star started to consume its fuel much faster than normal. 6 hours later, the Kethmore star began to expand. At first, the change was gradual. The star grew larger and brighter, sending waves of deadly radiation toward the planets in its system. The innermost worlds began to burn. War Prime Kethvar was in an emergency meeting when his science advisors brought him the impossible news. "Our star is going supernova," the chief scientist announced, his voice filled with panic. "The expansion rate is increasing exponentially. We have perhaps 12 hours before the radiation becomes lethal on the homeworld." "That's impossible," Kethvar said. "Stars don't just explode, not healthy stars like ours." "The humans did this somehow," the scientist replied. "They have a weapon that can kill stars." The realization hit Kethvar like a physical blow. The humans weren't just fighting a war. They weren't trying to defeat the Vorthon Empire. They were trying to erase it completely. They had built a weapon that could murder entire solar systems. "Get me a communication channel to the human fleet," he ordered desperately. "Full surrender. Unconditional surrender. We'll give them anything they want." But it was too late. Admiral Yoon received the surrender offer, but the stellar collapse device was already working. The process couldn't be stopped or reversed. The Kethmore star was going to explode and everything in the system was going to die. "Send a response to the Vorthon command," Admiral Yoon told her communications officer. "Tell them this is the price of genocide. Tell them to remember New Jeju." As the human fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, fleeing the X, the Kethmore star was dying, and everyone in the system could see it happening. What had been a normal yellow sun 12 hours ago was now a swollen red giant, growing larger and brighter with each passing minute. The innermost planets were already burning. Soon, the expansion would reach the Vorthon homeworld. War Prime Kethvar stood on the observation deck of his command bunker, watching his people's doom approach in the sky. Across the planet, 12 billion Vorthons looked up at the same terrible sight. Their star was consuming itself in a final burst of nuclear fury that would sterilize every world in the system. "Sir, we have ships trying to evacuate civilians," reported Commander Vextane. "But we don't have enough vessels to save even 1% of the population." Most of our fleet was destroyed by the humans. Kethvar nodded slowly. He understood now that this had always been the humans' plan. They had never intended to conquer the Vorthon Empire or force it to surrender. From the moment they learned about New Jeju, they had decided to erase his species from existence. "How long do we have?" he asked. 6 hours until the radiation levels become lethal. 8 hours until the stellar wind reaches us. When that happens, our atmosphere will be stripped away and the surface will melt. 6 hours. In 6 hours, one of the galaxy's great empires would be nothing but cooling plasma and scattered atoms. Far away from the dying system, Admiral Yoon Ji-hai stood on the bridge of the flagship Retribution, watching long-range sensors track the star's expansion. Her fleet was positioned 2 light-years from Kethmore, far enough to be safe from the coming explosion, but close enough to observe. "Stellar expansion is proceeding as predicted," reported Dr. Kim Nari from her monitoring station. "The fusion rate has increased by 4,000%. Supernova explosion will occur in approximately 4 hours and 17 minutes. Admiral Yoon felt no satisfaction watching an entire species prepare to die. But she felt no regret either. The Vorthons had chosen their path when they murdered the children of New Jeju. Every choice had consequences, and this was theirs. "All ships maintain position," she ordered. "We stay until it's finished." Captain Hong Jinwoo was monitoring communications from the Vorthon system. His equipment could pick up the aliens' final messages as they said goodbye to family members on other worlds and tried desperately to save what few they could. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," he reported to Admiral Yoon. distress calls, evacuation requests, final messages. Some of them are asking why we're doing this. Send them our answer, Admiral Yoon said. Broadcast it on all frequencies so every Vorthon in the galaxy can hear it. Communications specialist An Soo-young opened a channel that would reach every Vorthon receiver in the system. Her voice was clear and cold as she spoke the words that Admiral Yoon had given her. To the Vorthon Empire, you asked why this is happening to you. The answer is simple. 6 months ago, you attacked a peaceful human colony called New Jeju. You demanded that 50,000 innocent people become your slaves. When they refused, you murdered them all. Men, women, children. You killed them because you believed humans were weak and would not fight back. You were wrong. This is the price of genocide. This is what happens when you murder human families. Remember New Jeju. The message was broadcast in the Vorthon language, translated by computers that had analyzed alien communications for months. Every surviving Vorthon in the galaxy would hear it and understand that their empire had died because of what they did to one human colony. On the Vorthon homeworld, War Prime Kethvar listened to the human message and finally understood the magnitude of his species' mistake. The humans had not attacked the Vorthon Empire because they wanted territory or resources. They had not fought to defend themselves or their borders. They had come across the galaxy for one reason: to make sure that the species that murdered New Jeju would never murder anyone again. We underestimated them completely, he said to his remaining officers. We thought they were weak because they preferred peace. We didn't realize that their peace was a choice, not a necessity. When we took away their choice, we woke something terrible. Commander Vextane was coordinating the final evacuation efforts. Only a few thousand Vorthons would escape the system, carried away in the handful of ships that had survived humanity's campaign. The humans could have demanded our surrender, he said. They could have forced us to pay reparations and promised never to attack them again. Instead, they chose to end us completely. Why? Because they learned about us, Kethvar replied. They studied our history and realized that we would never change. Every species we conquered, we enslaved or killed. Every world we found, we took by force. They knew that if they showed us mercy, we would rebuild and attack them again when we thought we were strong enough. So they chose to make sure we never had that chance. As the hours passed, the Kethmore star continued to expand. The outer planets began to feel the effects of increased radiation and stellar wind. Moons that had been frozen for billions of years started to heat up and lose their atmospheres. Dr. Ju Sung-min, one of Dr. Kim's assistants, was recording detailed measurements of the star's death process. His data would be studied by human scientists for generations, helping them understand exactly how their ultimate weapon worked. The stellar collapse process is entering its final phase, he reported. Nuclear fuel consumption has reached critical levels. The star can't maintain this rate of fusion much longer. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Yoon received a final transmission from the Vorthon homeworld. It was not a plea for mercy or an attempt at negotiation. It was a simple acknowledgement of defeat. Human fleet, this is War Prime Kethvar of the Vorthon Empire. We know we are going to die. We know we deserve to die. What we did to your people was wrong. We killed innocent families because we thought you were weak. We were wrong about everything. I hope our death will be enough to satisfy your need for justice. Admiral Yoon considered responding, but decided there was nothing left to say. The Vorthons finally understood what they had done and why they were being punished for it. That was enough. At exactly 14 hours and 37 minutes after the stellar collapse device had begun its work, the Kethmore star exploded. The supernova was visible from 50 light-years away, a brilliant flash that outshone every other star in the local galactic arm. The explosion vaporized the Vorthon homeworld in milliseconds. 12 billion aliens died so quickly they had no time to feel pain. The blast wave expanded outward at a significant fraction of light speed, sterilizing every planet, moon, and asteroid in the system. Commander Park Hyun-woo monitored the explosion from the human fleet's safe position. Complete stellar detonation confirmed. No survivors. The Kethmore system no longer exists. But the human campaign was not finished. Over the following weeks, Admiral Yoon's fleet visited the remaining 5 Vorthon systems. Most had already been abandoned as news of the homeworld's destruction spread. The few that still had alien populations surrendered immediately and begged for mercy. There was no mercy. The humans had not come to accept surrenders or negotiate peace treaties. They had come to erase the Vorthan Empire from existence, and that mission would be completed. One by one, the remaining Vorthan stars died. Each explosion was carefully planned and precisely executed. Each system was sterilized completely, leaving nothing but expanding clouds of radioactive gas where planets had once orbited. Major Song. Yeji led ground forces that hunted down the last few. Vorthan survivors hiding in deep space installations and asteroid bases. Her soldiers showed the same efficiency they had displayed throughout the campaign, eliminating every alien they found. Final Vorthan outpost destroyed, she reported after clearing a mining station in the outer rim. No survivors. No escape pods detected. The Vorthan species is extinct. 6 months after the campaign began, Admiral Yoon stood once again on the bridge of the Retribution, looking out at empty space where the Vorthan Empire had once ruled 17 star systems. Now there were only expanding nebulae of hot gas and radiation, the funeral pyres of a species that had learned too late the price of genocide. All ships prepare for return to Earth, she ordered. Mission completed. As the human fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, beginning their journey home, news of what they had accomplished spread across the galaxy. Other alien species listened in amazement and terror to the story of humanity's response to the new Jeju massacre. The peaceful Terran Federation, which had preferred diplomacy and trade to warfare, had revealed another side of their nature. When pushed beyond endurance, when their families were threatened, humans became something that made even the most warlike species reconsider their aggressive policies. The message was clear and simple. Do not harm human colonies. Earth remembers every attack, every insult, every act of aggression against their people. And Earth's response burns as bright as dying stars. In the years that followed, no alien species ever again attacked a human settlement. The galaxy had learned a lesson written in the light of 17 dead suns. Humanity's capacity for peace was matched only by their capacity for absolute, total war. The children of New Jeju were avenged, and their memory would protect human families for generations to come.